30 seconds to bumper, 30 seconds.
30 seconds, guys.
And who's the lead singer on the song?
Emma.
Is she the middle one?
Yeah, the one with the sweater.
Got it. Thank you.
Matt, 3 of them have sweaters.
Whatever, the colorful
pre-service
striped
bumper in
sweater I
10,
think she was wearing.
9,
It's
8,
a white and gray
7,
sweater. Oh.
6,
Stand by
5,
video.
4, 3, 2, 1, go video.
Stand by. Alright, I had camera 4 coming out on this.
Okay, band, preview song in 10, 9,
First, so 4.
8,
If you're ready on the electric, I'll
7,
take you. If not, I'll go to 2.
5,
I'm on it right
4,
Okay.
3.
Stand by preview song on 4, 3, 2, 1.
Intro, 2, 3, 4.
Ready camera 6. Take 6. Ready camera 2. Here we go. 3, 2, take 2. Ready camera 5. Take 5. 7. Do you have a shot of Christina or no? Ready 4. Take 4. Ready 1. Take 1. 7. Take 7. Ready 6. Take 6. Ready 5. Take 5. Ready 4. Ready, maybe. Take 4. Ready 2. Ready 1. Take 1. Take 2. Ready 5. Take 5. Ready 4. Ready 2. Take 2. I'll go back to 4 in a second. Ready 4. Take 4. 7. Do you have a shot of Christina in the back or no? Ready 1. Let's get some movement 1. Take 1. There we go, 7. That's what I was looking for. Yeah, if you get Luke and Christina in the back, that would be cool. Take 7. It's alright. It's cool. Ready 6. Take 6. Ready 4. Take 4. Ready 5. Take 5. I hate song facts. Ready 4. Take 4. Ready 6. Take 6. Ready 7. Take 7. Ready 1. Take 1. Ready 2. Take 2. Ready 7. Ready 6. Take 6. Ready 7. Stand by maybe. Takes, I don't know. Take 7. Ready 1. Take 1. Take, ready 6. Take 6. Ready 4. Take 4. Ready 2. Ready 2. Take 2. Ready 5. Take 5. Ready 3. Take 3. Ready 1. Take 1. Ready 7. Take 7. Ready 4. Focus. Take 4. Ready 1. Give me a zoom out. Take 1. You're good. You're good.
Go video.
Hey Journey, I wanted to give you a heads up that today is Elevate Orphans Sponsorship Sunday. Elevate Orphan rescues orphans in Ethiopia and pairs 5 to 6 orphans with Christian widows to form new forever families. And today, we'll get to hear their stories of hope and redemption, and we'll have the opportunity to change the lives of those widows and orphans through a $35 a month sponsorship. Our goal is to have all the kids fully sponsored, and as a church, we want to be a huge part of that. There are pictures of the children and more information on the seat back in front of you, or if you're joining us online, you can check out elevateorphan.com, and I'll be telling you more about how you can be a part of saving these kids' lives today during our worship gatherings. Thanks, Journey.
Ten seconds, guys, stand by. Come out to camera 2 on Christina. I'll give you a second, but it looks like you got it. Ready, 3, 2, 1.
We're so happy to have you here today on this snowy day. Let's stand and sing praise to God together.
Intro 2.
Ready, camera 4 on the electric. There you go, that's good, hold it. Okay, you're good. Ready, 4, focus. Take 4. We gotta work on focusing faster. I know it's new gear though. Take 6. Ready, camera 7. Take 7. Ready, 1. Take 1. Ready, 6. Take 6. Ready. Where'd 7 go? Ready, 2. Take 2. Ready, 4. Take 4. Ready, 5. Take 5. Ready, 7. Take 7. Ready, 1. Take 1. Ready, 6. Take 6. Ready, 5. Take 5. Ready, 4. Let's get a different shot after this one. 4. You're live. Ready, 6. Take 6. 4. Get the electric. Ready, 7. Take 7. Ready, 4. 4 is live. Ready, 1. Take 1. Ready, 2. Take 2. Ready, 6. Take 6. Ready, 5. Next. Take 5. Ready, 4. Take 4. Ready, 7. Take 7. Ready, 6. Take 6. Ready, 2. Take 2. Ready, 1. Take 1. Ready, 7. Take 7. Ready, 4. Take 4. Ready, 1. Ready, 2. Take 2. Ready, 6. Take 6. Ready, 1. Ready, 4. Take 4. Good work, 4. Way to be there. Sorry I missed the call. Ready, 2. Let's go to 7. Ready, 7. Take 7. Ready, 6. Take 6. Ready, 1. Take 1. Ready, 4. Take 4. Ready, 7. Take 7. Ready, 1. Take 1. Ready, 2. Take 2. Ready, 4. Take 4. Ready, 5. Take 5. Ready, 7. Take 7. Ready, 1. Take 1. Ready, 6. Take 6. 4's next. Take 4. Check your focus. Ready, 2. Take 2. Ready, 5. Take 5. Ready, 6. Take 6. Ready, 4. Take 4. Ready, 2. Take 2. Ready, 1. Take 1. 2. Take 2. There you go. Ready, 6. Take 6. Ready, 1. Take 1. Ready, 7. Take 7. Ready, 2. Take 2. Ready, 4. Take 4. Ready, 5. Take 5. 5. If you want to do a little more movement while you're live, that'd be cool too. Ready, 7. Take 7. Ready, 1. Take 1. Ready, 4. Tilt up just a little bit forward. Ready, focus. Take 4. Ready, 6. Ready, 5. Take 5. Ready, 6. Take 6. Ready, 7. No, sorry. I'll stand 6. Ready, 1. 2, you can go over to Emma. 1 is live. Ready, camera 2.
2. Intro. 2, 3, 4.
Ready, 4. Let's take 4. I don't have that on my notes, but I should have.
Verse 1.
Ready, 7. Take 7.
It is my alabaster heart. And keep nothing back from who you are.
Ready, 4. Take 4.
No
2 will be next.
treasure held like your luck.
Take 2.
Your lifetime worth of worship, and it's only just the start.
Ready, 6. Take 6.
Here it is, my every waking.
4. Ready, I'll take you, and then you can just go down to his guitar. Ready, 3, 2, 1. Start moving. Take 4.
Endless praise.
Ready, 1.
For your
Take 1.
worthy far beyond all I
There you go. That kind of stuff's good. Ready, 7. Take
There's a
7.
lifetime worth of worship in the nuance
Ready,
of
1.
your names. Let it
Take 1. Ready, 5.
like incense, my whole life, a fragrance every hour.
Ready, 5.
Here broken
Take 5.
at your feet.
Ready, 4.
Every
Take
breath
4.
an offering.
Ready, 6.
Christ,
Take
these
6. Ready,
lungs
7.
sing over you.
Take 7. Ready, 1. Take 1. Ready, 5. Take 5. Ready, 4. Yep. Take 4.
Verse 3.
Ready, 1. Take 1. Ready, 2. Take 2. Ready, 7. Take 7. Ready, 4. Take 4. Ready, 6. Take 6. Ready, 5. Take 5. Ready, 1. Take 1. 6. Ready, 7. Ready, 4. Take 4. Ready, 2. Take 2. Ready, 4. We'll go back to you. Take 4. Ready, 1. Take 1. Ready, 6. Take 6. Ready, 4. Take 4. Oh, yeah, hold it. Hold it. You're live. Ready, 2. Take 2. Ready, 7. Take 7. Focus on her. Ready, 4. Take 4. Ready, 5. Take 5. Ready, 6. Take 6. Ready, 2. 4 next. Take 4, ready 5. Take 5, ready 6. Take 6, ready 1. Take 1, ready 2. Take 2, ready 4. Take 4, ready 7. Take 7, ready 4. Take 4, ready 5. Take 5, ready 2. Take 2. Ready 6. Take 6. Ready 4. Yeah. Focus. Take 4. Ready 5. Take 5. Ready 2. Take 2. Ready 6. Ready 7. Take 7. Ready 1. Take 1. Ready 5. Take 5. Ready 4. Take 4. Ready 7. Take 7. Ready 1. Take 1. Ready 4. Take 4. Ready 6. Take 6. Ready 5. Take 5. Ready 1. Take 1. Ready 7. Take 7. Ready 4. Take 4. Ready 2. Take 2. Ready 6. Ready 2. Take 2. Ready 1. Give me a wide shot, number 1. Wide, zoom out all the way. Take 3. Whoa! Andy, what the heck? Okay, take 6. Hold on, once he's done laughing. Take 6. That was funny. Probably not to anybody else.
Everyone else laughed.
Take 4.
Did he do that on purpose?
No. Ready 2. Take 2.
This is a place of prayer.
Ready 1. Ready 1. Take 1. Ready 6. Take 6.
First 2.
Ready 4. Take 4. Slowly pan up to his face. Tilt. Sorry, should be tilt up. Very nice. Good shot. Good shot. Very nice. Take 1. And then get a different shot for it. Ready 2. Take 2. Ready 6. Take 6.
Chorus.
Ready 4. Take 4. Ready 7. Take 7. Ready 1. Take 1. Ready 6. Take 6. Ready 2. Take 2. Ready 5. Can you get me closer? There we go. Ready 5. Take 5. Ready 7. Take 7. Ready 2. Take 2. Ready 6. Take 6. Ready 1. Take 1. 5. Ready. Take 5. Ready 2. Take 2. Ready 4. Take 4. Ready 7. Take 7. Ready 1. Let's get some movement 1. Take 1. Ready 4. Take 4. Ready 5. Take 5. Ready 6. Take 6. Ready 7. Take 7. Ready 2. Take 2. Ready, 1. 1, are you there? Zoom in a little bit. Let's get some movement. Ready, 7. Take 7. Ready, 4. Take 4. Ready, 1. Take 1. Ready, 7. Take 7. Ready, 4. Take 4. Ready, 6. Ready, 1. Take 1. Ready, 2. Take 2. Ready, 5. Take 5. Ready, 7. Take 7. Ready, 1. Take 1. Ready, 4. Take 4. Ready, 5. Take 5. Ready, 2. Take 2. Ready, 6. Take 6. Ready, 4. He's not even playing there. Ready, 1. Take 1. Ready, 7. Take 7. Ready, 5. Take 5. Ready, 2. Take 2. Ready, 6. Take 6. Ready, 1. Take 1. Ready, 4. Take 4. Ready, 2. Take 2. Ready, 7. Nope, can't jump to that. Take 5. Ready, 6. Take 6. Ready, 1. Take 1. Ready, 7. Take 7. Ready, 4. Take 4. And I had that written down. It came up too fast, too. Ready, 2. Get the, zoom out a little bit, too. Yeah, there. Get both of those. Yep, there you go. Take 2. Thank you. Thank you. Take 4. Ready, 1. Take 1. Ready, 7. Take 7. Ready, 5. Oh, what are you doing there, buddy? Alright, never mind. He's not playing. Ready, 1. Take 1. Ready, 6. Take 6. Ready, 4 is next. Take 4. Ready, 1. Take 1. Ready, 2. Take 2. Ready, 6. Ready, 4. Take 6. Take 4. Ready, 2. Take 2. Ready, 1. Take 1. Ready, 7. Take 7. Ready, 5. Nope, still not playing. Ready, 2. Take 2. Ready, 1. Take 1. A little pause here. Ready, 4. Take 4. 1. Zoom out, please. Zoom out, 1. Zoom out, zoom out. Ready, 3. Take 3. There you go, 1. That's better. Took you a second. Ready, 6. Take 6. Ready, 1. Give me some movement. Take 1. Ready, 7. Take 7. Ready, 4. Take 4. Ready, 2. Take 2. Ready, camera bros. Ready, 1. Take 1. 2, get host.
Go, host.
Thank you, everybody. Good
Awesome. Let's
stuff.
pray. God, we thank you that you are here with us, that your spirit is present, that you're moving in our lives. We bring everything
Going off comms. Get back up there.
and lay it at your feet. Our lives, our futures, the things we love, our fears, and we lay it at your feet, God. We thank you for what you're doing in our midst. We thank you for the hope that we have in you and for your son, Jesus. In his name we pray, amen. If you're in the room, you can be seated, and welcome to those who are joining us online. My name is Brandon Edwards. I'm the worship and creative arts pastor here at Journey. So normally I'm up here singing, but today we're gonna be talking about global outreach because I also oversee our global outreach. And it's one of my favorite days of the year because it's Elevate Orphan Sponsorship Sunday. And Elevate Orphan is one of our ministry partners. It's our primary ministry partner in Ethiopia. And the reason I'm excited is because we get to talk about God's heart for the fatherless, for the poor, and his heart for the widow and the orphan. In Ethiopia, poverty and the AIDS epidemic have created over 4.5 million orphans. And we've been working in Ethiopia for over 14 years, since about 2008, partnering with Christian service organizations and sending teams over there to build relationship and supporting ministries over there. And our primary one is, for the last 10 years, has been Elevate Orphan. In Ethiopia, most orphans have lost one or both parents to AIDS. And the median age in Ethiopia is 19 years old. I visited the government orphanages in Ethiopia, and the government orphanages, they're doing their best to care for the kids, but they're just overwhelmed and underfunded. And this last time I went in February, I was talking to the ladies that care for the infant through 6-week-olds, 0 to 6-week-olds. And in that room, the kids are 3 to 5 infants per crib, with about 25 kids in the room and only 2 workers to care for them. So they don't actually take them out. There's too many. And so they just change diapers when they need to, feed them in the crib. And I visited them a couple of times, and it's still that way. And the ladies are really nice. And I talked to them and asked them, where are all the kids? How are they all coming there? And they said that they're abandoned either at a church, someone drops them off at a church as an infant, and then they're taken to the orphanage, or someone hears them crying in an alley or a dumpster, and then they're brought to the orphanage. And that's where those kids come from. It's amazing to see so many infants in one room. They survive in the government orphanage, but they don't thrive. They wash out, usually somewhere between 10 and 14, they're on the streets, and then they don't live long after that. They're definitely not graduating high school and thinking about their futures. It's a problem. And Elevate Orphan saves those orphans that are in the government orphanage and pairs them with Christian widows in a forever family. So there are 6 to 8 widows in a forever family. And right now, they have 70 kids in 10 homes with 10 Christian widows that are caring for them and providing a loving home. And Elevate Orphan is whole orphan care. So they're providing housing, the Christian widow, a mom, siblings to live with in the house, food, education, medical care. There's staff counselors available for the kids, and they're doing really well. They're thriving. So I'm gonna, in a moment, I'm gonna have you follow a QR code to check out how to sponsor a child, but first let's watch this.
When I think about that ministry in that country, 3 words come to mind, and that's hope and love and family. I'm Chuck Wynn. I've been to Ethiopia 3 times with Journey Church and Elevate Orphan. When the children enter 5th grade, they switch from an Amharic-based education to an English-based education. And if you want to get into a university or a secondary school, you need those English skills. So we spend a lot of time with them in conversational English, in written English. And I think about where these kids came from. In an orphanage, in pretty terrible circumstances and situations. And they get placed in these families. They call them forever families. And it's a family that supports them, protects them, and most importantly, loves them. And after a while, when you talk to them and you ask them about their family, they talk about their brother and their sister and their mom and their aunt. And just a few short months ago or a year or two ago, they didn't have any of that in their lives. And just to see the joy on their faces and to see the love in their hearts and talking to them and spending time with them and knowing how important Jesus is to them. There are so many impactful moments and memories. One of my favorites is after lunch, Brandon would bring his guitar into the classroom and write a song on the board and sit down with an old guitar and sang with the kids the most beautiful music that I have ever heard in my life. We go out in the playground and we play these uniquely Ethiopian games where they teach us, and we just have a really good time together. And one particular little girl that really impacted me a lot, she gave me a note and it said, "Mr. Chuck, thank you for coming to Ethiopia. Thank you for spending time with me. I love you, and so does God. Kalkidan." Elevate Orphan is all about teaching these kids the love of God and protecting them and loving them and putting them in situations and circumstances that they have a hope for the future, and they know they can believe that tomorrow's going to be better than yesterday. There are a lot of great things happening in Ethiopia, but there's still a lot of need. And to see the difference between the kids who have that opportunity and have that love and support and some of the kids who don't, it's really a striking contrast. And to think that in some small way we can impact that, I'd just like to say thank you to Journey Church for everything that they have done and the people who support this important ministry, Elevate Orphan. And the impact is real and the benefit's real, and God's work and God's love is evident all over. I've often wondered, when you give to an organization, what happens? What happens to the money? And with Elevate Orphan, I've been there and I've seen it with my own eyes, and it's real and it is changing lives. It's one of the big reasons why I support the ministry and one of the big reasons I go back.
I like to learn English and mathematics. I like to play soccer ball and basketball. I have 2 brothers and 3 sisters, and they love me and they have respect for me and I have respect for them and I love them. When I grow up, I want to be pilot because of I want to fly above the land in the sky. In here, you are gonna be like a family, and here you know God, and you can go to church. I know that God loves us, and He gives us Himself for us, and He loves His child, and He's everywhere.
My name is Sablan. I go to church and I worship there and studying Bible, and we have small groups and we study Bible in this group. I have 3 sisters and 3 brothers, and I like to do things with them like playing football, riding bike, and watching movies and other activities. So I also have a mom and aunts, and proper education and health. The things that I learned from God is that we have to love people with unconditional love, and we have to share what we have. When
Stand by, camera 2.
15
seconds.
And I want to be an architect, and I would like to thank God for being part of this family, and thank you.
5, 3, 2, 1.
At Journey, why are we so passionate about global outreach and orphans and widows? It's because God's heart is for orphans and widows and the fatherless and the poor. In Psalm 68:6, it's one of my favorite psalms. It starts out Sing praises to God, to his name. Why? Because he's father to the fatherless. He protects the widow. And then it goes on to say that God places the lonely in families. And that's exactly what Elevate Orphan does. It brings orphans together and makes forever families, pairing them with widows. It cares for them, brings the lonely into families. And I'm excited to report that the first two girls have graduated from university. This is the first one. This is Meklet. And she is a chemical engineer now. She graduated with her chemical engineering degree, and she got her first job. I found out this week, she just got her first job as a chemical engineer. And then the second girl, Ingude, her sister was the one in the video, Seble. So this is Ingude, and she has a civil engineering degree. And she just graduated. And in a couple months, their rainy season ends, and she will start working as a civil engineer in Addis. So we're really excited about that. That is the example. They've been in the program for 10 years, and Journey, you have been generous and helped support them.
Sorry, I didn't realize my mic was on,
one of the
but,
largest supporters of
way to go,
the
too.
Orphans Ministry, because we got connected with
You were
them right
ready
from
for
the beginning. And we've been sending teams the whole time for 10 years. Knowing and getting to know the kids. The mission of Elevate Orphan is to pair orphans with widows into forever families and to raise the kids up in a loving Christian home so that they can be future Christian leaders in Addis and transform the country. And you saw that Seble wants to be a part of starting another orphanage. These kids know where they came from, and they want to make a difference for other kids in the future. And it's really amazing. The next 6 kids are getting ready to go to university. They just took their exams, and they're going to be going to university this fall. And what that has created is an opportunity. They've adopted 10 more kids out of the government orphanage, and those kids are ready to be sponsored. So what I'd like you to do, if you're interested in sponsoring, is to follow the QR code on your screen or on the seat back in front of you, and it'll go to elevateorphan.org, and you can sponsor one of the kids. Or you can see me in the lobby, and one of us at the tables can help you sponsor one of the kids today. Sponsorships start at $35 a month, and it really makes a huge impact in the kids. Next, we're gonna have our final week of our Live No Lies series, so check this out.
I knew this was gonna happen.
Your soul is at war with lies, and you have no choice but to fight.
Lies have shaped us, told us who we thought we were, held us captive.
Lies from outside us, lies from within us. Truth is reality, and when we live at odds with reality, we cannot thrive.
Jesus said, "Watch out that no one deceives you."
You will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. The truth can be known.
The truth will set you free. It's time to take back control of our minds from their captivity to lies, to liberate them with the weapon of truth.
It is time to fight back in the quietness of our hearts.
To stand in the truth, to live no lies.
Stand by.
John 17, verse 15
Camera
says
2.
this. My prayer is not that you take them out of the world, but that you protect them from the evil one. They are not of the world, even as I am not of it. Sanctify them by the truth. Your word is true.
One,
as you
go
sent me into the world,
to the right a little bit.
I have sent them into the world.
Yeah,
You've been with us for the last few weeks.
Yeah, it looks good,
We're
thanks.
in the last Sunday of our series, Live No Lies. And we've been talking about the 3 main enemies of our soul. The first being what it says there in verse 15 of the enemy. We have a real enemy, Satan, the devil. We may not like to talk about him a lot anymore, but the main tactic of the devil is lies, that we end up believing these lies, just like you heard some of the voiceovers there, we end up exchanging truth for lies and how it distorts us. And it goes all the way back to the garden where he says, well, did God really say that? Or does God really care about you, right? There's these doubts and insecurities that we have about God, ourselves, how the world works, and it ends up playing out in our flesh, right? Our lives physically, and it breaks down relationships and families and our own self, and we end up in a place where we didn't imagine ourselves being. And lastly, Bob mentioned last week about the world, right? And how we live in a world that is full of broken people who are hurting, and we kind of see the environment. You know, turn on the news for 10 seconds and you'll see the world that we live in, right? And it can be depressing and it can be difficult and doesn't seem like there's much hope. But in this passage that Jesus is praying, it seems that he is praying for us, and he's praying for his disciples, and in doing so, he's praying for us as well, the future church. And Bob did a great job last week unpacking that we're not of this world, and that we need to kind of maybe start to, again, unpack or learn these areas where we've begun to live as maybe the world does. What I want to do, if you have a Bible, maybe if you have a physical Bible, or if you have like the Bible app, you can highlight it in there too, I think that you can do that. Underline, we're going to be on that verse 18 today. It says, as you were sent into the world, or as you sent me into the world, I have sent them into the world. I'm just kind of one of those crazy people. If Jesus says something, I think we should maybe look at it and take it serious. So I want to ask the question today, what does it look like to be sent into the world like Jesus? That's what I think we can, that's what I want to end this series on, because we can take all this and say, great, I've learned some, I'm trying not to live any lies, but what do we do with this? How do we go forward with this if you've been here throughout this series and you're learning here? So what does it look like to be sent like Jesus? And first we need to kind of define the world. Now I think we're sent into the world. Because remember Bob said there's a couple different definitions of the world, right? So this world, sent into the world, this is like our culture. This is the environment, 2022, Bozeman, but also our nation, our world. This is, we're sent into the world as believers. Jesus was sent into the world in his time for the sake.
Yeah, go ahead for it. Thanks.
Like our fancy new board. For the sake of the world. Now, there's a lot of stuff about we're not supposed to be of the world, so maybe we're not meant to be of this culture, but also the famous John 3:16, for God so loved the world. Now, who is that? That's the people. That's you and I. That's our neighbors. That's the person across that may vote different than you, may look different than you, maybe from a different part of town. Maybe they root for the Grizzlies. I don't know, you know? We all have our brokenness in our lives, okay? So we're meant to be sent into the world for the sake of the world, right? We're meant to live sent lives like Jesus did. He entered our world for our benefit, for our sake, and we're going to be unpacking that, but we have to ask, what does that look like? I think it's fitting on this Sunday. This is our Mission Sunday. This is Elevate Orphan Sunday. And it's amazing. You heard about what those kiddos that are growing and learning. And I've also had the opportunity to go to Africa. I've been to Ethiopia myself. And one thing I remember from all the kids, no kid wanted a job where like, I just want a job where I make tons of money. They all said things where they could help people. It was so interesting. I remember that. They're like, I want to be a teacher. I want to be a doctor. I want to be an engineer. Because they all wanted to give back in some way. And that's impacted me. And I know me and Brandon have been chatting about what that looks like to take teams in the summer, and we're excited about that. And deeply impacted by missions. I've had the privilege to go on a number of trips around the world and even served as a missionary full time. Kayla and I did that before we were married. Right after college, we worked in Europe primarily. And I lived in the UK and was based out of the UK. And it was amazing because, you know, if you look at church history, if you know anything about it, there's tons of church history in the UK. I mean, great revivals. And I mean, I once was in a church that was like John Wesley's favorite church he ever preached in. And you could go and see his Bible that was in there. And it was like hundreds of years old, the church. And then there would be like 4 people in the church. Right? And I remember walking these churches, and I joked with the first service, like there would be churches like this, our church is 600 years old. I'm like, that's older than our whole country. That is wild, right? And the doors were short because they're like, back in the day, Logan, they weren't sure as tall as you, you know? And like, I couldn't like walk in the church door. And we basically helped revitalize these small, dying churches with basically, we put in part-time youth pastors, right? We're trying to help them because we would walk in, they'd say, Logan, that's the last teenager walked in. What do we do? And it'd be someone in their 60s or 70 years old. And so if you know anything about Europe, it's kind of maybe a more postmodern world, but also kind of post-Christian. A lot of those churches are being closed or turned into nightclubs, bars, things like that. And so we came in to try to help these areas, and we were kind of the Rust Belt area of England. And I got to live there and care for those people and enjoy many a rainy day. And it was a really impactful time of my life, and God used it, and I saw God do amazing things. I saw house churches with 7 different languages being spoken, and they chose me to go through the book of Romans. I'm like, I better slow down this lesson, you know? It's like, okay, it's going to be translated into 6 different languages. I mean, it was crazy stuff, you know? So my lesson got really short, you know what I mean? Like we'd get through like 4 verses in one time. And I saw people come to Jesus. I witnessed to the soccer hooligan culture, if you know anything about soccer. And I'd go to these soccer matches, and all of a sudden they would just pop off, and I'd be there trying to reach. And amazing stuff happened. But what I realized is, and Kayla and I did too, we had this kind of cool ministry, we thought it was. We were missionaries by day, but athletes by night. That's what we got to do because we both played sports at a higher level over there. Kayla played for the best volleyball team in the nation of England. It was awesome. But if you know Kayla, that's not surprising, right? My team was much more Bad News Bears, okay? My team was fighting off relegation. Like they're like, Logan, if you don't score 40 points, this guy loses a job. And I'm like, what? That's a lot of pressure, you know? Like, I had no idea what I was walking into. I knew I was in trouble when they said, Logan, we just need you to, you know, like, you can't pass the ball to your teammates. And I was like, this is not good basketball, you know? And I was like, it wasn't good. And so if you know any, like, and I don't know, I love those TV shows that are English because now they bring me back, like you know, like if you ever seen Ted Lasso or Welcome to Wrexham, like that was my life. Like that was it right there. Like I was the only American in the room, high-fiving, trying to get everybody involved. And my teammates were like, who is this dude? You know what I mean? I didn't have a mustache, but I had long hair and a beard. And they're like, who is this guy? Like, what's he about? Why is he here? But it was in those moments, I think, the unplanned moments of ministry, as I'm being sent. I'm a missionary, right? It was the unplanned things that stuck out to me the most. One of those times was November 1st. I remember it vividly because we were playing a game November 1st. We had to travel to Liverpool, so it was across the country for us. We were on the northeast side. We had to drive across. And this might lay it out. Like it was November 1st, and in the UK, they love Halloween, and at least where I was, and they all love to party. And so I get there to get to the bus. I got my backpack. I'm ready, you know, I'm trying to put my music on, like get in the zone, you know. And I just see all my teammates coming. I'm like, uh-oh. They're hungover, you know, and I see the guy dragging his bag and drinking Pedialyte, and I'm like, oh no, this is not good. This is going to be a long drive, you know, and there's a guy got his head out the window, like, I just got to sober up, and I'm like, man, this is not going to go well, right? And I forgot to tell you, too, my coach had called me right before that and said, hey, Logan, I'm sick, I'm not going to be there today. Could you be the player coach? And so I was like, great, this is my time to shine. I'm going to drop all the plays, definitely for me. Like, I'm definitely... Like, my shots are going to be way up today. I'm going to get my Bill Russell on, but I was freaking out. I'm like, this is not good. And on top of that, I was supposed to drive the bus that day because I got paid a little extra money to drive the bus. So I was driving the bus, coach, player, with my hungover team. That's a real story. No, none of this is exaggerated. At some point, I was like, this will be a great sermon illustration. Today's that day, right? And so I'm driving this bus thinking like, okay, how do I move at these guys? They're getting sick in the back. We drive there, and guess what happened? We got smoked. We're getting crushed, right? Like, we get there, these guys they're having a bad day, and they're just complaining. They're like, oh, man, I can't believe we have a game on the first. Like, shouldn't they know? Like, what's the league doing? And I would love to tell you, like, I was so perfect with all my teammates, but I didn't curse at them, but man, I ripped into them at halftime. I just let them have it. I was like, y'all are the softest bunch of group I've ever met in my life. Y'all are a sorry excuse for players. Y'all need to grow up. You know, be men. Like I was doing the whole thing. I was like, there was one guy named Martin. He hadn't drank. It was me and him. And I was like, me and Martin are going to go out there, and I don't need the rest of y'all. Just sit on this bench. I'll play with just him. And guess what happened? We still lost. My motivational speech did not work. My coaching career, it wasn't good, right? But I had this moment, and I walk out of that game, and I'm like, oh gosh, now I got to drive back, and just got crushed and humiliated, and I got ice packs, and I'm just like trying to get out here, and then I go to the bus, you know, I'm driving, I'm like, and I got to drive us back. And I get in the bus, and it wasn't far long into that drive that one of my teammates looked at me and said, Logan, are you one of those Christians? It wasn't a question I was expecting to get at that moment. I was thinking, man, I can't stand these guys, and they're ticking me off, and I'm hurting. So I'm driving the bus on the different side of the road, you know, and they were like, you're one of those believers, aren't you? You're one of those Christians. And I was like, well, yeah, I am. Why do you ask? And he said, well, the boys and I, the mates and I, we've been talking. I'm not going to do the accent because it won't work. But we're like, me and the mates have been asking, and we're like, we just can't figure it out. And it's not, we thought it was just because you're American, but it's not your American stuff. We've realized it's not that. Like, they always use a joke. They're like, you drink way too much water. You have a backpack. You wear a hat all the time. Like, you're very American. They're like, you stick out like a sore thumb. But they're like, no, there's something about you that is different that we just can't peg. And so I began to unpack a little bit of my faith. And what I didn't realize is in that moment is I got to have one of the most amazing conversations I've ever had about the gospel with this, because it was just us in the driving back, and I got to tell them why I was there and what God was doing and why I believed in Jesus. And they asked all these questions, and I'll never forget one of these guys. He looked at me. His name was Jimmy, and he goes, Logan, I heard some song called Oceans. He goes, I have no idea what it's about, but it's pretty cool. I like it, right? If you know, it's like a Hillsong song. And so I talked to him about, like, well, here's what that means, and here's what that is, and the ocean, the chasm of our sin, and I just, like, began to pour out. And so Kayla and I both had those kind of environments, especially with sports. And I look back as we were thinking, oh, this is what it means to be a missionary. I'm going to go. I'm going to change everybody's life. God's going to move. And God did different things in me and through that time over there. And I realized it wasn't, my expectations was different than reality. Because, I was living a sent life, but what God had for me in that moment looked a little bit different than what I imagined. It wasn't just the organized Bible study or the sermon or the outreach. It was life on life. It was relationship. It was time spent together. It was bus rides in coffee shops. I used to meet with a group of guys at 5 a.m. or Fridays mornings at 7 a.m. And they would come. They're like, I have no idea what the Bible's about. Just tell me. And I would just like tell them. They were like, wow, that's amazing. And they had like no, they were like, it says what? And they were just, it was mind-blowing stuff. But I realized it was just little moments like that it wasn't just that they were people to be saved, but they were friends. They were my neighbors. They were people I had practices with and went to dinner, and I asked them about their life. And they even said, they said, Logan, you're just different than us. Like, you ask us questions, and you're really cheery, and like you high-five us a lot. And they were, it's a kind of an economically deprived area, and so they were very much, it was a hard life. And they're like, there's just something different about you. We just don't know exactly what it is. Friends, Kayla and I took this away where we're like, man, we might have been in England at that time, but that doesn't need to change. So whether we lived in Denver or here, like, that doesn't change who we are and how we live. Because I realized if I'm going to live a sent life like Jesus says, then that doesn't matter which environment we're in. It's the same no matter where we're at. And so I want to look at a passage this morning for us as we finish out this series about how do we, in this room and online, how do we live a sent life? So if you have a Bible, turn with me to John 15. John 15, we're going to be starting in verse 5. It'll also be on the screens. Verse 5 says this, I am the vine, you are the branches. If you remain in me and I in you, you will bear much fruit. Apart from me, you can do nothing. If you do not remain in me, you are like a branch that is thrown away and withers. Such branches are picked up and thrown in the fire and burned. If you remain in me, my words remain in you, ask whatever you wish, and it will be done for you. This is to my Father's glory that you bear much fruit, showing yourselves to be my disciples. If you got a Bible, I would underline that verse 8, because the first thing we want to talk about, if we want to live sent lives, we need to bear fruit. Jesus is telling his disciples we are to bear fruit, that there should be fruit of our lives. He says, if you even have your pencil or pen or whatever, he talks about remaining in me. He says it 4 times, remain in me. Remain in who am I? What have I taught you? He's telling his disciples, what have I taught you? What have you seen me do? Stay close to me. We've been talking about that in this series, but how do we know what God is like, what he's up to? Are we attentive to that? Or are we just kind of floating amongst our lives? And he's saying, no, if you remain in me, you're going to bear fruit. There will be fruit to your lives. And I love that because it says, our fruit will show the world that we are his disciples. Friends, I just got to ask a question. What's the fruit of your life? What is it? If you need help with that answer, look to Galatians 5:22. It says this, but the fruits of the Spirit, right? This is the things that grow in our lives as a result of the Holy Spirit. They're love, joy, peace, forbearance, which is patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. Against these things, there is no law. So if we did a fruit inventory this morning, what's growing on your vine? What's growing on the branches of your life? Are you full of love? Are you a patient person? Are you kind? Are you a good person? Or do you look at that list and you go, ooh, it might be a little bit more withered than I thought? Because see, friends, I think there's this temptation. You're like, yeah, great, that's great. That's good stuff. Be a good person. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying this is saying if we're really in tune with the Holy Spirit, if we're following God, if we're actually taking him serious, if we do what he did and we actually take his word at face value, then part of that relationship, there'll be a fruit to our lives. There will be love. There will be joy. There will be peace in our life. There will be patience. I don't look at that list and say, yep, I got enough patience. I'm good. You know what? I'm just kind enough. I got plenty of self-control for everybody. No. You look at that list and it should be almost like a gut check of, a tree can't just go like, make an apple. Like that doesn't happen, right? Like it's a product of an environment, right? It's a product of water and sun and soil. And the same things in our lives, like guys, what's in our lives? Is there a ground that is producing these fruits? There's a lot of verses about, he says, I'm the vine. You're the branches. Everything that comes from you, it's a direct result of our relationship with him. Folks, these fruits can be a measure of how well you're doing with the Lord. I'm not trying to judge you or condemn you this morning, but maybe that's the Holy Spirit's reminder to you of like, hey, there's some work to do. I look at that list and I go, man, I got a lot of work to do. And it's like the Holy Spirit's just pointing and saying, hey, Logan, what's that? Let's talk about that for a little bit. If we're going to go into the world, if we're going to be sent to the world for the world's sake, then friends, what is the fruit? Do they see fruit in our lives? I'm grateful that my teammates saw something in me. They said, Logan, we're really bad teammates, but you're always patient with us. Not always. I would not say I'm always, because they got on my nerves a lot. But love those guys. But they were like, Logan, you like ask about our families, and you ask, a lot of my friends, they had different relationships, and they said, you ask about, my girlfriend who's pregnant, and you've asked like, how's that going? And why? Why are you doing that? Logan, you always seem like you're trying to, invite us to something or go to dinner. Why is that? And I say that not to say I'm amazing. I'm saying it to say like, I'm grateful they saw some fruit in my life, because there was probably a lot of areas that wasn't growing. Friends, do we have those conversations with people, or do they just do we look like everybody else? Because when I see this world that we live in, there's a lot of hostility, there's a lot of cynicism, there's a lot of unbelief. There's a lot of that already in the world. So are we living a different way? Do we model a different way? Do we actually have fruit to our lives? Is there evidence that God is renewing our minds and our spirits, right? Or do we just live and look like everybody else? The same cynical and hostile lives that the world has thrown around. If you come and spend any time with me, one of my favorite passages is Hosea 10:12. And I think that if we look about how do we grow fruits in our life, how does fruit grow? I think the prophet Hosea says this, and it's really crucial for us. And read it with me here. It's going to be on the screen. It says, sow righteousness for yourselves. Reap the fruits of unfailing love. And break up your unplowed ground, for it is time to seek the Lord until he comes and showers his righteousness on us. When I start to realize what God's doing in my life, when I start to ask the question, am I bearing fruit? I'm sowing these little seeds. It's not my righteousness, it's Jesus' righteousness, right? Little seeds of, God, I'm not as patient as I want to be, or, man, God, I'm not very kind. I don't love well. I'm a very judgmental person. Oh, man, those are just little seeds. We're putting those in the ground, and God doesn't. What does he do? It says we're going to reap a fruit of unfailing love. I love this passage because it's almost like we get to participate with God, and he invites us in of, hey, I'm going to identify these areas, and we just have to confess them, and maybe that's through our community. We've talked about accountability. We've talked about we need family. We need people who will look us in life and say, Logan, you're just not very loving, and I'm concerned. Or Logan, you're really cynical, and you kind of judge a lot of people. These are all things my wife tells me, right? We need people like that in my life. Hey, Logan, that area of your life is kind of withered and dying, and maybe God wants to do something about it. Friends, I don't know what that area is for you, but I love this passage. It doesn't say maybe you should break up your unplowed ground. Or if you have time to break up your unplowed ground, it says, no, break up the unplowed ground. What are the areas of your life that are dry and desert and there is no fruit growing? I cannot identify those for you, but you know. Those closest to you know. What are those hardened parts of your soul? You're like, nope, I got burnt by people before. I'm not going to open that up anymore. So I'm going to be cold and I don't need to be loving. Like, friends, those aren't like choices. That's a command. Like, we're meant to produce fruits. It says that we'll be known, we'll show ourselves as his disciples by our fruit. So friends, if we don't have fruit, something's off. We're not healthy. And it says those unhealthy things are thrown away and burnt because they're useless. I don't want to get anywhere close to that. I want to be a person that has so much fruit in my life that people are having those conversations. Are you one of those people as well? I love it. It says it's time to seek the Lord. Not tomorrow, not next week, today. I read this passage all the time because I'm like, man, today's the day. Today's the day to seek the Lord. Not tomorrow, not like I'm doing good enough. I don't look at that list and say, yeah, I'm doing pretty good, Logan. I got enough of this. No, I go, I need more of that. Lord, I need to be even more in tune with you. I need to abide in you even more. How's my time in the Word? How's my time in community? Am I being honest about what I'm struggling with? Or am I just going through the motions? I love that it says he showers his righteousness on you. It's his righteousness, guys. It's not ours. This is what I see a lot in our culture, and correct me if I'm wrong, but there's a lot of self-righteous talk going on out there. Because you know what happens with self-righteous? I start looking, I'm like, man, some stuff's growing in my life. I'm doing pretty stinking good, right? And then what's really quickly happens is, look at all these sinners out here. Man, I got way more fruit in my life than that guy or that person over there. Man, it's like the Pharisees. God, thank you that I'm not like these people, right? And that's this self-righteous behavior because we think that we're doing better than everybody else. And then what I find in my own life and those around me is when we become self-righteous, we become bitter and cold. And what we don't do is, secondly, what we need to be about is we don't love well. We don't love well. Pick this up with me in verse 12. It says this in verse 12. My command is this. This is Jesus talking again. Love each other as I have loved you. God, greater love has no one than this, to lay down one's life for one's friends. That's what Jesus does for us. You are my friends if you do what I command. I no longer call you servants because a servant does not know his master's business. Instead, I have called you friends. For everything that I have learned from the Father, I have made known to you. You do not choose me, but I chose you. And I pointed to you, here it is again, that you might go and bear fruit that will last, so that whatever you ask in my name, the Father will give you. This is my command. Love each other. It's his command that we love each other. It's not a choice. We don't get to say, maybe Jesus, if they're nice or they deserve it. No, we don't get to do that. Jesus doesn't do that. And in this book, Dan Ortlund, he's an author. He wrote this book, Gentle and Lowly. He says it this way: the cumulative testimony of the four Gospels is that when Jesus Christ sees the fallenness of the world all about him, his deepest impulse, his most natural instinct is to move towards that sin and suffering, not away from it. Friends, if we're going to live a sent life, we need to get off our high horse of self-righteousness and stop casting fingers and looking at people and say, ooh, what is that going over there? There is brokenness, there is pain, there is stuff that's really scary, I get it. But Jesus saw that. You know what he did? He entered our story. He came into us. He met us in the midst of our brokenness and redeemed the world through him, right? For God so loved the world. You know the story you probably heard with Miss Peggy's kids. Guys, if we're going to be sent into the world, we have to love well. We can't just be sitting here and being like, well, if you do that, and get it better. And I can tell you this because it's what Jesus did. Jesus felt love and compassion for people immediately because they were created in his image. They mattered to him. It says this, and maybe you remember that story in Matthew 9, the story of when Jesus saw the crowds. What did he do? He said he felt great compassion for them because they were like sheep without a shepherd, and they were helpless. He didn't look at them and say, oh my gosh, these people. Not again, not another crowd. He goes, man, if only they knew who I was. And he has compassion on them. He moves towards those people. Or maybe the story of the rich young ruler. You may have familiar with that story about the guy who has got a lot of stuff going for him, a lot of money, and he says, God, Jesus, I've kept all the rules and everything. And Jesus says this in Mark 10, he says he looked on him and he loved him. And then he does correct him. He says, hey, if you love me, then just give everything away to the poor and follow me. And we know that the young man walked away. But even in the midst of his unfaithfulness and the fact that he did not end up following Jesus, it says that Jesus loved him and he saw him. He had compassion on him as well. He wasn't angry and wrathful towards him, but he was heartbroken because he's going to not choose him. Or maybe this one. Maybe you heard the story of when Jesus is asked, what's the greatest commandment, right? And what does he say? Well, love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, spirit, all of it. But love God with everything you are. If that's a goal for 2023, that's a good one. Love God with everything you are. Deuteronomy 6. And they say, well, and he says, but likewise, the second is this. Love your neighbor as yourself. And I love the smart aleck guy, because that probably would have been me. He's like, well, who's my neighbor? Who's my neighbor? Because he wanted to put some differential. Well, who do the people have to love? And friends, I just look when we're self-righteous, and I see a lot of us in our world, if we've been following Jesus, there's a lot of us going like, that's not my neighbor. I don't have anything to do with them. But friends, who are your neighbors? Do you know the people who live beside you? Do you know the people down the street? Do you know the people, your coworkers? Do you care about them? Or do they just annoy you and you can't stand them? Because maybe they need Jesus. And maybe you're the only form of Jesus they're going to get this week. The person that annoys you the most, guess what? Is probably the person the Lord wants you to speak to the most. Maybe they look different than you. Maybe they vote different than you. Maybe they root for the Grizzlies. I know it's a big one to get over, but maybe that's the person God wants you to love the most. So Dan Ortland says this. He says he sides with you against your sin, not against you because of your sin. He hates sin, but he loves you. What a beautiful picture of a God who comes towards us in the midst of us. It's like if something was wrong with Forrest, my son, man, if he had like a disease, I'd be so angry. I'd do everything I could to help him heal, right? I would do everything. I'd take him to doctors, I'd get the medicine, whatever. And folks, we got a sin problem that is raging in our lives, and God loves us so much that he did something about it. He actually came in human form, died on the cross that you and I could be reconciled to him now and forever. And friends, we get to be that for other people. So at this time, I want to ask one of our students to come out and help me illustrate this a little bit. Can we give it up for John Preby, y'all? Yes. John did not know he was helping me today, but I wrangled him in, okay? John, how are you? Good, okay. So John and I are, there's a distance here, right? Now, John, are you a perfect person? No, you got some stuff you can work on? You saw those fruits and you're like, maybe some of those, they're not growing as big.
Can you swing over to grab John?
I could either tell John.
Oh, I'm sorry, never mind. You're on camera.
Right. I kind of put it in this chart. You might see it on this chart up here, but I could explain to him everything that he's done wrong. I could be far from him. I could correct him.
On one, so.
I could, but does this feel very good? No. And Jesus doesn't spend a ton of time doing this, right? But I think we do this, like we might send off a mean tweet this way, right? Or like repost that, boom, and like this.
One, if you're there, can you scoot over?
Right? Like I can do this, and I don't have to actually know John's name. I don't have to get to know
Camera
him.
one is back on comms.
Thank you.
Because this,
can you go get John?
I can be self-righteous, and I can tell John he's wrong. I don't actually have to listen to him.
There you go.
But what we see Jesus
all
do
right,
in the Gospels
you can
is
zoom
he
back in
just
on
say,
Logan
hey,
slowly.
Out, John, and come follow me. He actually comes into our story. He puts an arm around us, and he says, hey, John, this way is not going to work, man, but this is the way that leads to life. And he walks us with us, right? That's who God is. That's the God of the Bible. Here, John, thank you so much, man. Appreciate you. Yeah, thank you. That's what God does, right? He enters our stories. He walks with these people. He shows them, like half the disciples don't even fully understand who Jesus is half the time, right? But that's what Jesus does. He comes and he engages us and he walks with us. And he goes, man, let me show you a better way. He says, I'm the way, the truth, and the life. No man comes before the Father but by me. This way, it leads to death and destruction, and it's lies of the enemy. But this way leads to life and life eternal. Friends, are we people who put our arms around people and walk with them, or do we just stand and throw rocks at them? There's too much of that. There's too much of that out there. Are we people who actually walk with people and we care enough to get into them? I put it in this chart for you guys to make it as simple as I could. Are we people who are against people, or are we people who are with people? Only you can look on this list and say, man, what am I about? What is more likely for me? Do I just face off with people? Do I stay far away from them? Do I hate them? Am I close to more judgmental? Or am I angry? Do I just try to give them all the answers? Well, they don't believe right. Man, look at these sinners, man. If they only got kids these days, I hear that all the time. Kids these days, man. Or man, the world's gone to hell in a handbasket. Well, why don't you the world was a hell in a handbasket when Jesus entered it too. It wasn't a real good environment either, and that's when Jesus decided to start his church. So folks, when are we going to start doing something about it? Are we going to enter into that story? Because the other side takes some work. It means that we have to come alongside. We have to be near people. We have to love. We have to ask them questions. I ask the teens a lot. What's it like to be you? What's it like to be a 16-year-old right now? Guess what? It's a lot different than it was for me. It's a lot different from when you were 16. Are we kind? Are we curious people? Do we ask questions? Or do we just worry about giving them the right answer? No, guys, there's a time for the right answers. There's a time that says to testify to the goodness and the hope that we have in Jesus Christ. But do we ask questions? Do we care? Or do we just want to be right? That is not how we live a sent life. We have to love well. We have to enter in people. We have to spend time with people we do not agree with. Because how are they going to get it unless they experience some of that in our life? I think there's something there for us, guys. And, Kayla and I just had a baby recently, so date nights are at a premium right now, right? So I was trying to be romantic, which I was trying, so I was like, what can I do? What can I do? And I was like, I'll do a fire pit night, right? Put the baby down, get a fire pit going, get the little s'mores, little charcuterie. I don't know that word, whatever, the fancy stuff. You know what I mean? Charcuterie. Hard to say. You know what I mean? Cheese, little olives and stuff. Kayla loves that stuff. So I got the plate ready, sunset. I'm like, yeah, it's good. Take notes. There you go. There's a free one right there, guys. Sat out there, and we sat by the fire. And we had a great conversation and stuff, and it was a good time. That was last weekend, not the snowy weekend. Not in the rain. We're not crazy. But, it's funny because I put on a jacket I had on that week, later that week, and I was like, and you could smell the smoke, right? You could smell it on me. I was like, oh, and I wasn't near the fire at that time, but you could tell I had been around a fire at some point. And folks, I wonder if people notice that aroma about us of Jesus in our lives. Are we people who spend time with God and love him so much that we have these fruits in our lives that when we enter into those relationships, we're like, man, there's something different about them. Right, man, I don't know exactly what it is. And my teammates didn't agree with me 100%. There was guys still like, look, I think this is full of nonsense, and that's okay. But I got to have conversations and continue to have a relationship with him, and I want us to smell like Jesus. I want us to have fruit of our lives, folks. Is there fruit to your life? Do you smell like Jesus? Can people tell that you are a follower of Jesus, or are you just the same old, same old? I think we've missed it if that's the case. Folks, as we land the plane here this morning, as we are trying not to live lies, we want to be people of the truth, right? It's not that we just tell the truth. It's actually the truth came to us. And we get to share that with others. And the truth, are we living that? Being sent like Jesus, lastly, is this, guys. I think it's going to take great intentionality and creating margin. I would love to tell you this is a part-time thing. This is a side hustle. This is like another add-on Disney Plus subscription kind of thing. But it is not. We cannot just keep living the way of the world and be sent to the world. It doesn't work that way. So if we're just worried about the hustle and bustle and caring about everything that everybody else cares about, it will not work. You will be tired. You will not have room. And I talk to people all the time. They're like, oh, Pastor Logan, I'd love to, but life's just busy right now. I know that. I know my life's busy. I got a 4-month-old at home. You know what I mean? I'm tired. I'm real tired. But I don't get to, these are commands of Jesus, that we would love well, that we would bear fruit. We don't get to do this. It's not optional. It's extracurricular activity if you get time around to it. That's not, it's part of following Jesus. It means following Jesus. So friends, what I have to ask you is are you willing to create some intentionality? Are you willing to create room? You might need to say no to some stuff, because there's a bunch of kids in that lobby that need our help, that by God's grace, we've done a great job supporting them, but are we going to support them even more? And that might mean saying no to something that you really want to buy this week. A couple less lattes. Okay. Figure that out. Cancel some subscriptions to some stuff, right? There's some of us, there's a whole wing of kids down there that we need more people. You want to look for intentionality. There's a lot of kids hurting that need some intentionality. I got a bunch of kids that are going to come here tonight for youth, and guess what? A lot of them are coming from non-church homes, non-faith parents, and they got no one walking with them in life besides us. I once taught a class when I was a high school teacher, and I taught about mentors and finding mentors, and I asked the boys, hey, would you find a mentor in your life? And all 25 boys asked me to be their mentor. That's not because I'm awesome. That scared the heck out of me, because I was like, oh my gosh, these boys have nobody. Folks, there's kids and people around us, your neighbors, your coworkers, your family, your roommate, students, the kid at the table that smells weird or whatever, like that person needs you. Are we living with intentionality, and are we creating margin in our lives to do it? Or do we say, oh, whenever I get around, you'll never get around to it? These people radically followed Jesus, and we're sitting here as benefactors of that today by people who took Jesus really seriously, who stopped living lies and lived a different way amongst the people, and it changed the world. It changed the world, friends. It could change Bozeman. It can change Ethiopia. It can change our nation. Do we care? Are we going to be about it and create margin in our lives? The best person I learned this from, a guy named Derek. Derek was a buddy of mine in college, normal guy, not a pastor, not a theologian, long-haired dude, played basketball at my college. He was a couple years older than me. So we're like, oh, cool, hoops, long hair, that works, like we became friends, and he was just like, first it just became, hey, Logan, you want to work out with me? I was like, yeah, man, I'd love to. And we'd work out, and he's like, hey, I'll come pick you up. I'll program all the workouts. I'll do all. He loved doing that. And then I was a teacher at the time, and he was like, hey, let's ride together. Let's ride to school, and I'll pick you up. And then he's like, hey, would you come to dinner with me and meet my wife? And here's my kids. And hey, by the way, here's this book. I don't know if you ever want to read it, but if you ever want to read it, we'll talk about it. He's buying books. It was always like some super deep theology book, you know what I mean? I was like, this is 900 pages, but like, and person's been dead for 300 years. He's like, yeah, let's read it, or he would just spend time with you, and he would invite you over, and he would ask questions, and he was curious about this, and he was really intentional. And I know this about Derek is he just didn't buy the bag of goods of wherever the world was going. He's like, I don't think some of this works. I'm not going to do that. So if you asked him what the latest TV show or what the score of the game was, he probably didn't know. He didn't. The guy had a flip phone, for crying out loud. You know what I mean? But he lived with great intentionality, and he created margin to this day. When I go back to West Virginia, I will go and knock on his door. He lives about 45 minutes from my parents. He'll open the door like we're lifelong friends. Like, oh, hey, hey, Logan, how are you, man? He's not like rushed. He's not like, hey, well, can you schedule me in? Like, that's not Derek. But he said no to a lot of things so he can say yes to people. The guy, when I was in Europe, he sent me letters. He sent me care packages. He didn't have to. He's just a bigger brother in my life. He loves the Lord, and he just took really serious. I'm going to follow Jesus, and I'm going to be really intentional with people. And what I found out later in life is I left, and he just found guys to do that for no reason, just because he thought Jesus would do that. So we would write letters about what we were learning and what God was teaching us, and I would come back, and Brett's like, that's just Derek. That's what he does. He's got little kids. He was showing them how to do the same thing. He had all the reasons to say no to a bunch of young college kids, and there was kids from every faith background, non-faith, and he didn't care. He just invited you in life. I would come back and I'm like, oh, there's so-and-so. Yeah, he's Derek's new guy, like that was me a couple years ago. When I went there last, there was a couple people just in his living room, and I was like, yeah, makes sense, Just being intentional, creating margin in his life to do so. Said no to a lot of things. Folks, what are the things that you need to say no to live with greater intentionality? Maybe it's a few less days skiing. Maybe it's a few less days hunting and being with your family. Maybe it's not being up to date on the latest trends or whatever. That just doesn't matter. You are not super people. You cannot do everything. You cannot be God. You cannot be everywhere at all times, do all things, and know everything. You can't. Stop trying to. But you know what you can do? You can be really intentional with the person that's in the cubicle next to you. You can actually care more about what's going on in your kids' lives or your spouse's lives, or you could care less about what the PTA moms and dads are talking about. You could care more about who your kids are becoming more than just what they achieve on the sports field or in the classroom. It can, but it's going to take some intentionality. It's going to take some time. And friends, I think it'd be amiss if we just leave this series and we're just like, cool, next one, great, check the box. Friends, the the world needs us. The world needs us for the sake. Would you do this internal work of wrestling with God? Where are you needing to remove some things in my life? What's not growing? Because the world needs more patient, loving, kind, gentle people who would walk into their story and say, man, let me show you a better way because Jesus showed me a better way. Can we do that? What would Bozeman look like? What would C look like? What would those kids' lives look like? We've heard stories of what their lives look like because a couple people cared, who gave up of some stuff. Chuck, who went over in his time. We're going to have times to do that, but there's people right here in this valley that need that right now too. You don't have to wait for the next mission trip. Right now, folks, we're all missionaries. We can all be Derricks in the world. What's funny about those teammates, I had a chance with them. Last thing I'll say here is I shared with that bus ride, and a few weeks later came and I said, hey guys, I'm going to be sharing at this coffee shop. I'm going to be telling my testimony. I'm going to share more about who Jesus is. You know what? My whole team came. Now, if I hadn't put the time in and put the relationship and actually genuinely loved them, they probably wouldn't have come. They're like, whatever. I got way better things to do than listen to me talk, right? But they all came because they're like, well, no, Logan, you matter to us, and you love us, and we love you, and we're going to come listen to your story. About a couple months ago, I got an email from one of those guys on Facebook Messenger, and he said, hey, Logan, I want to let you know I became a believer. And he said, it was because of things you said back in the day, and he started to wrestle with it, and he went to uni and stuff, and he said, man, I'm following Jesus now. Thanks for that testimony in my life. Man, I just was sowing seeds. Didn't know what I was doing. This young 20-year-old kid running around playing basketball, missionary. I didn't know. But God moved in that life, guys. That could be your story too. There could be people right now that need who you are and what you have to offer this world. To a lost and dying world, will you be that for other people? Would you pray with me? Jesus, it's a new season outside. We see it. We see the snow. We see this changing of seasons. And God, I just pray that we would take your word really seriously. That we would hear what you're saying and we would do it. That we would not just be hearers of the word, but we would be doers of the word. God, as I prayed and studied this week, I was nervous because I was like, gosh, Lord, there's so much in me I just need to repent of. And God, I pray that for my friends in this room and online, that they would just repent, that they'd say they're sorry, and they would turn away from these areas that they're being selfish, self-motivated, worrying about their own prestige and accolades and escaping the realities of this world rather than being intentional and creating margin. God, I want to live a sent life. Would we leave here sent today, not as superheroes, but just as intentional expressions of the fruit that you've grown in our lives, and that we would love well out of that space, Lord. It's all because of you that any of this is possible. So God, I pray that you would do a greater work in us this morning.
Hello, 7.
We leave here changed.
We need 5.
Folks, would you
stand by
worship
1.
with us this morning?
5 on.
Ready? Let's go camera 3.
1.
All right, 1.
Intro.
Let's go to 6. 6 is live. Ready, 4. Take 4.
Verse 1.
Ready, 7. Maybe. Take 7.
I worship you. I worship you.
Ready, 1.
You are here.
Tilt down a little bit.
Working
Good.
in this
Take 1.
I worship you. I worship
Ready, 4.
Chorus.
you. Are
Take 4.
waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper.
Take
Light
6.
in the darkness, my God, that is
Ready,
who
2.
you
Take
are.
2.
You are waymaker, miracle worker,
Ready, 1.
promise keeper.
Take 1.
Light
Ready,
in the
4.
darkness, my God,
Take 4.
that is who you are.
Verse 2.
Ready, 6.
Are here,
Ready, 5.
touching every heart. I
Take 5. Ready, 2. Take 2.
You are here.
Ready, 4.
Every heart.
Take 4.
I worship you.
Ready, 1. Take 1.
Verse 3.
Ready, 6.
You are here.
Ready, 7.
Turning
Take 7.
lives around.
Ready, 4. Take 4. 6. Ready, 7. Take 7. Ready, 2. Take 2. Ready, 1. Take 1. Ready, 4. Take 4. Ready, 5. Take 5. Ready, 6. Take 6. Ready, 2. Take 2. Ready, 4. Take 4. Ready, 5. Take 5. Ready, 6. Take 6. 7. Take 7. Ready, 4. Take 4. Ready, 2. Take 2. Ready, 1. Can left. Okay. Take 1. Ready, 4. Take 4. Ready, 7. Take 7. Ready, 1. Ready, 2. Take 2. Ready, 4. Take 4. Ready, 5. Still on 4. Ready, 5. Take 5. Ready, 7. Take 7. Ready, 6. Take 6. Ready, 4. Take 4. Ready, 2. Take 2. Ready, 7. Take 7. Ready, 1. Take 1. Ready, 4. Take 4. Ready, 2. Take 2. Ready, 6. Take 6. Ready, 4. Pan down. Take 4. Ready, 2. Take 2. Ready, 1. Take 1. Ready, 5. Take 5. Ready, 6. Take 6. Ready, 7. Take 7. Ready, 1. Take 1. Ready, 4. Take 4. Ready, 5 again. Take 5. Ready, 2. Ready, 7. Take 7. Ready, 1. Take 1. Ready, 4. Take 4. Ready, 5. Take 5. Ready, 2. Take 2. Ready, 7. Take 7. Ready, 1. Take 1. Ready, 4. Take 4. Ready, 5. Take 5. Ready, 1. Ready, 2. Take 2. Ready, 4. Take 4. Ready, 7. Take 7. Ready, 2. Take 2. Ready, 4. Yeah, that's fine. Take 4. Ready, 1. Take 1. Ready, 6. Take 6. Ready, 7. Take 7. Ready, 4. Take 4. Ready, 2. Ready, 5. Take 5. Ready, 7. Take 7. Ready, 6. Take 6. Ready, 4. Take 4. Ready, 1. Ready, 3. 2.
Hey, Journey, thanks for tuning in online or here in person. I always say this every time, but it's a privilege to be one of your pastors. A privilege to care for the students, and thank you for entrusting us with that. Before you leave and head out into the snow, I encourage you, please go hear from some of those folks that have been impacted by their trips to Ethiopia. Go see those kids, their names and their faces. Like we said, we want to come alongside them, and man, it's hard.
Thanks, everybody.
Not to get behind a kid when you see their face, you know their name.
Thanks for being here today.
You see the stories that's impacted. So
good work.
If that's you, please go see them. Or if you want to get more connected around here, there's a Connect card on the back of a chair or here on the screen. If this series has been impactful for you, if you're like, Logan, I'm ready to kind of take my next step, I've kind of been mulling around, maybe that's it. Just reach out to me. I'd love to get together, share more crazy England stories or whatever you want to talk about with you guys. Again, want to get you connected. Thanks again for being a generous church journey. You make it possible for us to love those kids well, love these kids and students in this valley well, and all the things we get to do. As always, there's 3 ways to give. Thanks for your generosity in advance. And be safe out there, and we'll see you guys next week. Love you guys.
This is camera 4. Do you want me to take my camera up there too? Camera 1 stepping down.
Camera 5 stepping down.
Camera 2. Camera 2 off comms.